What's going on, everybody? Landon here, back again, the dynamic duo. Dave, how's it going?
Good, brother. Happy to be here. Excited for the topic.
Yeah, man, we got a good one here. We're gonna talk about what it's like to be a dad and run two businesses, because I don't know what 60% of our listeners are family men. They have sons or daughters, and they've started this business, right? Become one of the crazy people. And I know that I interviewed Alex and yourself, Dave's wife, before Beckham was born. I think Alex was a few months pregnant at that point.
I think so.
So I really want to dive into your mind and kind of piece together how you segment, how you bring these together. Do you put them in their own different silos and everything like that? But before we get into it, I got Jeff Sininger, I hope I pronounced his last name correctly, coming in hot. And Jeff, when I spoke with him initially, he had already built a $1.4 million restoration company local here in BC. He knew his acumen. I was like, okay, cool. That's very interesting. Like, I'm having a talk and he's this humble that I don't know this stuff. So maybe that's a lesson to everybody. But here's what he said. I've listened to over 80,
80, not 79.
Not 79, 80 of David's podcasts, and was getting a lot of great information for free when I decided that it would only be better in the Home Service Business Coach program. I was not wrong. The community that David and his team has built is top shelf. It is a great resource if you want to excel your business. And I thought that was really powerful. Again, coming from Dave, a business owner who's already built a 7-figure company.
Yeah.
Sits down, listens. I know, like, and trust this guy. I just want to accelerate my growth.
Yeah, man. And he already built up a successful business. He could probably do it again in, let's say a few years, but like, could he do it in a year or two with our coaching? Yep. That's kind of, he's looking to collapse time, which I think is a smart move, valuing the time higher than the money, right? We talk about this a lot.
Yeah, maybe we'll get into that today. But Dave, like, take me back, and I want to go really back, man. You come from, obviously a family. Your dad's a pastor. There's family views and ethics that kind of come into place. Was there like a moment, have you always wanted to be a dad, or is this kind of something that kind of came about the last 5 years? Kind of what was your mindset before even having Beckham?
It's funny, man. Growing up, I remember being like 12 years old, and I was like, I've always been like super goal oriented and thinking ahead. And so I was 12, and my life plan was get married at 20. I was like,
wow.
Yeah. Married at 20 and then kid like pretty like shortly after. But wow. you know, when you're 12, you kind of really look up to your parents and what they modeled. And my parents modeled like a great marriage for me to look up to that I could learn a lot from. And then I turned 20. I'm like, man, I'm not ready to get married. Turned 25, still not ready. Then finally, Canadian national average, males marry statistically at 29.5. So I got married 3 weeks after 29.5. Kind of funny. Right on the average. But yeah, man, I think for me, it was always this kind of, let's first like build the business, and then I want to set up my future family for success. And I didn't know like what age I would get married or have kids by, right? Yeah. I think it was one of those things I always wanted to do, and kept just kind of like, I think first I had to wait to like get the right wife, right?
Yep.
We talked about this on the podcast, like no shame. The theme of my life, if I ever wrote another book, would be fourth time's the charm. Because like Alex was my fourth girlfriend I had. HSBC is my fourth business. There's a number of like fourths in my life.
4 kids?
Yeah. I do believe like everything does happen for a reason. And I do think it's very scary in life when you put a timeline on by this age, this needs to happen. I think you can have like a general plan and you can like control your daily decisions for that.
Yep.
But like to say, hey, by this age, my business has to be this, and and if I don't have that, I won't be happy. Like that's crazy.
Yeah. Don't marry the goal, marry the outcome of the goal.
Nice.
That's such a big thing, man. You're sitting back, and actually, you know what? I am gonna plug this.
Do it.
I was thinking about it. So I remember on the school bus. I'm 10 at this point, right?
Yep.
And I knew you were dating somebody at the time.
Yep.
And she went on my bus.
Yep.
And I don't know why. And then for me, my perspective of the very, 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 touch points every year, maybe I might have heard about you from your sister, Esther. It was, Dave's got a new girlfriend. I was like, man, this guy doesn't stop. he has a goal and he's going to maintain that. So maybe you're trying to hit that at 20, 25, and eventually it landed at 29. Yeah. So that was my perspective.
Yeah. And I think like, you know, getting personal here, like the girls I did date were great girls, and you may have that in your life too. I think to actually commit and get married to someone is such a big deal. And that's one thing my parents really modeled well, was like, you get one shot at this, right? It's one set of vows, it's one day, and then it's till death do us part. And I think while dating and like hiring and onboarding staff, I think I honestly just learned about, you know, having the right values of someone, and really seeing like getting married, I think is forget kids, like just finding a life partner is like the ultimate hire. It is the ultimate cheat code. You can turn off this whole podcast, forget about it if you're not aligned with your partner. And I think the stakes get upped, man, when you have your own business too. Like I think Alex didn't care about the successful company I had necessarily. She cared about like who I was as a person. And I think that can really get clouded when you're dating with like a successful business as well, as like to someone just to partner up with someone who is successful. So I think all these things you got to look for. But I think for me, it was like just such a high bar getting engaged and getting married that it wasn't this like, hey, if this doesn't work, you know, I signed an agreement, I still own my assets. Like, no, none of that. Like, we have one shared bank account. We are in it for life to win it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, again, too, so that's something you've always wanted as a dad. And again, too, like finding a partner. I come from my side of things to get a little personal. My pops, he hasn't had the best track record, and same with my mom. So it's almost like it's up to me and my siblings to kind of change that trajectory here. But what has been like the biggest shift? Because I know, again, when I interviewed Alex and yourself, hyped, amp as you would be, but I have this master plan. I'm reading all these books I possibly can, as good as any good entrepreneur is. The same lessons here and habits can apply to this. There's kind of like this anticipation, okay, we're going to try all these different things and learn and hire a sleep coach. You know, that was something that maybe you'll touch on later too, but is it everything you thought it was going to be? Real blanket answer or question. Is it everything you thought it was going to be?
Being married or being a dad? Which one?
No, dad.
Being a dad.
We won't quiz you that hard today, buddy.
100% it is, man. I think it's like, you don't really understand like the joy, I think, of being a parent until you're actually like in it. Similar to like, to give an analogy, like having your own business. Like, you don't understand the true highs and lows of that until you're like in that situation. So I think it's funny. I looked at, before I had kids, I saw people with kids. I'm like, that looks like hectic and stressful. And I'm like, why? And then I'm in this stage, and now I look at people like without kids. I'm like, man, you all don't know like what you're missing out.
Wow.
I think some parents give two sides of one is like, it is just like the most joyful, kids are a blessing, and they are, but like you do need to give that other end of the equation with like, they are a lot of work, man.
Yeah.
And like, if you have someone, it's like the employee 24/7 that needs someone, someone from management, right? So there is both sides to that. But I do think if we made this episode 60 seconds and I had to rip off the top 5 things I'd ever done in my life, they will all be like the most hardest things I've done, but they also come with like the most highest reward.
Yeah.
Which is like the having Beckham into our life is like the same way. So
yeah. Love that.
There's nothing in life that is like the most rewarding and joyful that comes like with Zippo struggle. It just doesn't happen.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. And I remember, I think Beckham was 2 or day 02 on this earth.
Yeah.
Day old. And I came out. Funny story behind that. Maybe I'll touch on later, but
I gave you the wrong address.
Yeah, I thought this hospital was 5 minutes away from me. No, it was like 45 minutes. I was like, oh, roger that. No excuses. So I head out there. I remember holding Beckham, and I was like so frightened. I don't really hold kids. You know, I'm not this type of guy. You know, I'd love
not yet.
Want to have kids, buddy, but you know, I just don't know what to do with them. So I'm like holding them. I'm so stressed and and then I could see right there, and the reason why I bring it up is Alex is in the hospital bed, obviously recovering. She just gave birth. you're there. I can tell you both are tired, but joy and gratitude and just satisfaction, like just sky high. And then we actually filmed a podcast, I think.
In the hospital.
Yeah. As if it was an idea though, but maybe 4 or 5 months ago, I was over, we're doing some filming here. And then, man, and this is something I'd never seen before in my life. Both my parents had to work and all this type of stuff. We walk upstairs, Beckham's nursery. There's Alex. Within 1 minute of filming this, finishing a podcast, you were upstairs holding your son.
Yeah.
And that was the dynamic from seeing the stress and also the joy from the hospital, but also that comment. So how, for those that are maybe considering kids or this is for literally anybody, how big has that been for obviously raising of Beckham, but most importantly, I guess your marriage?
Yeah, man, I think people, it's cliche, right? Like getting married, a lot of people, a lot of friends have said that she, let's say wife's name, partner's name makes me want to work harder, be a better man. Like Alex does not make me want to work harder. I think she makes me a better man because she balances me out to the other beautiful things in life. Like to share transparently, handful of years ago before I got married, I did some counseling because I'm like, I want to show up to this marriage being the best version of myself. And my counselor told me straight up, I never heard anyone in my life tell me this. They're like, I was a couple sessions deep and she's like, Dave, do you know that there are more things to life than achievement? And I was like, no, I didn't know that. Like, I always thought you just set a goal and like, that is your thing. And I've train this like element of my brain to go like tunnel vision. And so, that was years ago now, being married like almost 6 years.
Crazy.
You really learn each other and you also learn how your spouse actually makes you better. And so Alex will turn my eyes open to all the other beautiful things in life. And, Beckham has amplified that as well. And so it's not having kids make me want to work harder. Like I was already working super hard.
Yep.
I think having Beckham has wanted me to work smarter, be more intelligent with my time. And I worked like my butt off through my 20s, knowing at some point I would get married and have a family.
Yep.
Didn't know like the details of that, but I was just working hard to almost like build out this like Christmas gift, I guess, like a box, like a present, which was like myself and everything that like the good and bad that come with that. So that when that day comes, I have like the best presentable present available to get married. And with that came, business skills and good income and real estate and all that stuff. It's nice, but it was more the forging of the character of myself through that decade of like, you have a kid and they're crying on an airplane and like tension's high. Like, how can you just be so calm? And I'm like, I've been there before. I've had a client swearing at me in a truck in an accident and 2 employees quit and I ran out of money and then this happened. And it's like, you go through the grittiest crap running a business that when you're a parent, you're just like, I'm running around the track again, but this time it's not an employee quitting. It's something else on the home front. So I think you learn these like incredibly valuable skills that you can just plug in and be like, I remember that really hard time and like, here we go again.
Yeah. And that also ties into, I think, more for maybe the listeners that are, 20s, 30s, considering having kids, want kids, but I mean, just saying, at that stage of life, maybe I'm sitting here too with that. It really takes money to make money, right? And with my parents growing up, we didn't have a lot of cash. Probably, was a main contributing factor to why the divorce rate is so high is cash flow. And there's almost like this emphasis on like, get your freaking business to a certain point, not only to provide financially, time-wise, but really this too, the Greek for character is chisel. So think about that. Like, what is it going to take for you to build your character? Well, it's these hard things in life and viewing them as opportunities for growth, even though they suck. Yeah. Like they're not fun. Like you staring at the business bank account, $0 in it. You're like, oh, this is fun. Yeah. Right. No, nobody's thinking that, but it is that forging a character, man. Yeah. What has been the biggest hurdle, challenge from being a dad, and maybe something you just weren't expecting it to be?
I would say, I was telling my buddy this at the gym the other night, because we're both like, our kids are like 3 weeks apart, which is kind of cool. I was saying my biggest learning is like the demand now on my time. It was like fairly decent size before.
Yep.
But now with having Beckham, it's just amplified. Like even someone saying, can I have I had a guy reach out, business colleague that I have been connected with for years, and he's building a new software app. And he said, hey, it's for home services. Love to get your thoughts on it. Me, sounds pretty cool. Mm-hmm. And I literally said, like, my next slot is in like 4 weeks, or I think it was 4 weeks away. And I literally started just booking stuff for a month out now. And so I used to get to stuff before having Beckham within a week, maybe two. But now I'll start to book out a month from now, and I won't go send out my Calendly link to anybody. Like, it's like I'm very dialed. So like when I'm in here in the studio making content, there's no phone here. Like, this is what we're doing. But come 3:45 today, I know my alarm goes off. I'm on a 60-minute walk with Beckham.
Yeah.
And then we're coming back, we're having family dinner, and then 6 o'clock's bath time, then bed, then a hot tub with a non-alcoholic beer, then a show, lights out, 9:30, we go again. So it's like your life almost becomes a bit more scheduled. And for me, I just personally love discipline and almost acting a bit robotic through my day. Mm-hmm. And it removes a lot of the thinking from it. So I think my biggest challenge, Landon, has been like, there's something in business of like speed to lead, right? And you want to be like very communicative on your phone and Slack and responding. And when I'm in the zone, I am. Mm-hmm. But I'm not really monkeying around trying to say yes to as much things as I used to. So like guarding out that time's been the biggest challenge for me, because I am naturally a people pleaser and I want people to like me and I want to be quick with responses, but ultimately you can't please everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. And it also, too, a quick side note maybe on employee training, they'll figure it out most of the time, right? The team figures it out. If you don't reply in 2 to 3 hours, you're watching Beckham on a walk, whatever it is, the team can figure it out if, again, you've hired the right team. But that's maybe a total side note.
Yeah.
Maybe this is a deep question, Dave, but I'm just listening to you, man, and I'm like, okay, character, finances, time, big challenges, hidden blessings, of course, like that. We just had I know I asked you this question a couple months ago. Did your worldview change? Or like, you hear this, like a Navy SEAL cries, when they hold their kid, haven't cried in their life, doing it breaks them. There's that mindset shift, man. So if you could leave Beckham with one thing, what would it be?
Leave him with one thing.
So let's paint the picture. Beckham's 22. He's a young man. You can leave him with one thing, or you're right now, he's about 8 months, I think.
Yep.
What is one thing you were trying to instill or leave Beckham with? And I don't want the quick answer of, well, a bank, a trust fund kid.
No, it's not. I think one would be like ultimately super high level, which would like be the wisdom to share with him that there's more to life than what's on this earth, and to really examine his faith and make it his own.
Yep.
But other one I do want to tag on is one that my dad gave me, which was first we do the work and then we have the fun. And like people ask like, how do you have a kid and like good marriage and run 2 businesses and still find the time to go golf every week? Like it just, how? I think delaying a lot of that gratification was like instilled in me as a kid. And that's something I really want to pass on to Beckham is like my dad and I on Saturdays, we would deliver in Southern Ontario these little newspaper, like it was like the free like Clipper coupons called the Penny Saver, right? And we would go literally, man, at 5 a.m. on Saturday.
Unreal.
Southern Ontario. So like you don't even check the weather. You just go. And we're freezing, man, delivering these. And this wasn't like, oh, you do this for 1 month and say you did it. We did it for like 6 years.
Wow.
And I'd go out. It just sounds funny recapping it. I'd go out. We'd do that. And then we would come home, and then I was on a traveling soccer team. So we would be off driving all around the province to play soccer. So like, and I just never questioned like, do I kind of feel like doing this? Although we did set this tradition, I'll just end with this. We had this one corner, my dad, we'd park the van and we'd go on his stopwatch and we'd have 90 seconds. And we were allowed to say any word and complain, not swearing, but we'd say it is so cold, miserable. I do not want to be here right now. I didn't have a good night of sleep. You could like almost barrel your burdens out.
Yep.
But at 90 seconds, done. No complaining, nothing. And that was instilled in me. No matter how cold, how long, how hot, how this, how that, we are not complaining. And that was like one thing that I loved as a kid, because even now, Landon, if I didn't sleep good last night, I will never say I'm tired.
Yes.
I am experiencing tiredness. I am not labeling myself as a tired person.
Yes.
And so you want to be very cautious of the words that you say. And I think instilling hard work and not complaining, that's something when Beckham's 22, like I don't want him complaining.
Yeah. Oh man, I've never heard that. 90 seconds, spill it out, get over it, and let's move on. Yeah, because it also probably makes you feel heard as well too, but it doesn't divulge into the back and forth. Like, Kate, you're all these things. Okay, but we have something at hand. Let's take care of it.
Yeah, it was almost this like male, like therapeutic process to like, let's go in that compartment of complaining. Let's open Pandora's box. Yeah. Let's complain. Let's put a lid on it and shut it.
Man, I might steal that.
Man, it was good. My dad would get into it too. He's going, and I'm like, it was just like cool father-son like bonding. And I do think those were the formative years from age 6 to 12. We lived on a farm.
Yep.
That shaped my brain and how I view hard work and tough times. And I'm not giving the story that I was raised with nothing and I, walked to school with whatever.
Uphill both ways.
Yeah. But it's like, I think childhood programs children for grit.
Oh, man.
And that's the one thing I'd want outside of his faith. That's the one practical skill I'd want Beckham to have, is a willingness to like look at challenges as like, this is an opportunity.
Yes, absolutely. And maybe that's a good question for the listener too, is maybe that's a thought exercise you do on your own time, is like, you have this business. Okay, cool. We're trying to get it for XYZ, but at the end of the day, you can provide your family with a lot of resources and even a lot of time as well too, right? But what are those things at the end of the day? You're off this earth. What are they left with? It's a good thought experiment. I know I've thought about it too, but Dave, we'll finish off on this. What has been something you did not expect that has added so much to your life? Like, I know that, again, Beckham's in your arms. Alex has just given birth, gone through the trauma that it all is. You have this shift. Like, life is no longer about Dave and Alex. It's Beckham now. These shift. What does that look like with a thing you didn't realize was going to come from Beckham?
Yeah. I mean, I think it changes everything, man. It's almost like you're like wearing a specific kind of like sunglasses and seeing the world in one way, and then you're over here and you put on like red sunglasses or like a totally different color. It's like even my risk tolerance is, we were joking about that's like my risk tolerance is going down. Like literally yesterday, getting sidetracked, going out on my daily walk, I got Beckham, I got Charlie, and we turned down this one nice super wide street. I love a wide street because you can let Charlie go longer and whatever. Yep. And these two dogs come up to us, and one like loose, one has like the fangs going on, and I was like, man, I really like, and it was coming at Charlie. I'm like, man, I would love to see where this can go, but I had Beckham with me. I'm like, you know what? I can't stay for this. We need to turn and we need to scoot. And so your whole, like, my sunglasses are on, right? Your whole view towards like the life you're now living is like different. So like your tolerance for risk way down. You're thinking about somebody else now that you need to be present for, because parenting, at least our view of parenting, is like, I try and be as hands-on as I possibly can. That's not to say that I know anything what like a mother has to deal with, because I think there is like a special bond there. But I try and be present and be around to help raise him, because I do think, man, where you look at families breaking down, I think there is a contribution for the dad not being able to give as much time to the kids. That's not like a foolproof way, but that is one thing I want to try stack the deck with my family and say, you know, if dad's usually around for 30 minutes, could this dad be around for 3 hours or whatever it is per day that works for us? So yeah, I think it changes everything, man. So I think it's hard to say like, this is the one thing. But I don't think he makes me want to work harder. I think I was naturally industrious before, but I think he makes me want to work smarter, build something of value, and ultimately like not give him any handouts, because you know, we'll get him on the podcast when he can talk, and he's going to be learning these delayed gratification skills. And, you know, I heard on a podcast, man, what makes life hard is you thinking that life shouldn't be hard. I'm like, oh man, is that for a lot of listeners, right?
That's facts. Absolutely.
Like, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's like, again, too, I'll revert back to maybe like my childhood and how I was raised, right? Like, mom and dad did the best they could, but there was by no means a handout. There wasn't this idea that I was entitled. And I remember grandma and grandpa on both sides beat that out of me. Like, life is not fair. Life isn't, the sole purpose of life is not happiness. It's the person you're becoming for the impact that you can have. And it was instilled in me from such a young age that, like, even now and I genuinely believe life happens for us, not to us. It's all for our benefit most of the times. There's some things that are unfair, but then again, what else did you expect? Yeah. Do you expect life to be easy? And that's something that, again, formative years, 0 to 5, 5 to 10, 15 to 25, give or take, like, it's all throughout, but it's really formed in those younger years.
Put you on the spot, man. You're asking all the questions. What, you have kids, gonna have kids. What would be your view on allowance?
Ooh, this is a good question.
Did you get that growing up?
I never did.
Okay.
We got birthdays. Okay. So birthdays and maybe Christmas, right? So a birthday in my household, very, very small, but you maybe get some cash. Okay. Christmas, you could get a little bit more cash and it was a much bigger event, right? But it was an expectation that here's your role, here's the task, get it done every single day without fail. And I remember, man, from 12 to 15, I didn't miss cleaning the kitchen. Like, you know, it was always a mess at the end of the night. Yeah. Come home from school, do my homework, and then the first thing is unload, load the dishwasher, clean the kitchen. And there was no
money for that.
No money. Yeah. So I'm not like it's not like I'm against it. I think that maybe if I were to have an allowance now, I'd really not be concerned about if I'm giving them money for the task, but how, once they have cash, which inevitably they're going to get, how would they deploy that? What's their mindset and framework behind saving and investing and not spending stupid money? You know, one of my goals this year is don't buy dumb things, you know, very simple. But that's a good goal. But just don't spend money frivolously, I guess, if you will. And if I can teach them that, I'll be happy. But I know. What are your thoughts on this? Because you have an interesting take.
Yeah, I'm against it. I'm just thinking my parents, I'm surprised they said yes to this. But again, I lived in Ontario from age 6 to 12. They would let me, man, bring fresh farm eggs. So I had chickens. Yep. Bring them to church and sell them. I would sell it. I would sell a dozen eggs, pure profit margin, because my dad was buying for the chicken food. Yep. $2.50 for a dozen. Well, man, so I remember I could make a few bucks at church, but I do remember getting like, I think it was $2.50 a week. So like a couple bucks just for doing some like basic chores around the house.
You did, eh?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
My dad also, I just told him this last week. He forgot one soccer game. So again, goal oriented. I'm 10 years old. I wanted to save up $2,000 to buy a dirt bike, a Honda XR 100.
Let's go. And 2-stroke, right?
This one was a 4-stroke.
Oh, man. Yeah. Wow, okay.
And my dad, one soccer game, said, I'll pay you $2 for every goal. So that game, I did not pass the ball and scored a few goals, which was fun. But my view, man, on it is like, I think what I would prefer to do is have Beckham look at, almost do like a needs recognition analysis at the home and say, hey, the car's looking a little dirty. Dad, mom, can I detail the interior for, we'll try get it like future and it'd probably be $40, right? Yeah, no, we'll not do that. I'll give you 10. We'll settle on 20. Okay, done. Yep. Go do it and let me know and I'll come and do an inspection. Like that kind of a, let me spot opportunities where I can bring value versus like this recurring payment coming in, because I just think, I don't know, like I'll give it a go with parenting and maybe report here in a few years how it's going. But I just think that might land better than like, hey, every Friday is like payday just for doing these things. But I also think kids need to learn hard work. So that's just kind of one thing I'm planning to look at doing.
Yeah, and I don't think, again, what you do in the household is obviously formative. You can win or have successful kids, however you define those two words, either way of looking at it. It really comes down, I guess, maybe to what you feel is going to best equip him or her with the most success, right? So I don't think that you can lose as long as those core core values, his core principles. Like I remember I had $110 at like age 10, right? I thought I was balling.
Yeah.
But what did I go spend the money on? Stupid things. And it wasn't until I sat down, my dad's sage advice with money, save. Sat down, actually made a tracking sheet 4 years ago. And I was like, oh, I actually am spending a lot of money on XYZ. I never thought, right? But it's, again, it comes from the childhood. So, Dave, like this is, I know it's like off business.
It's good though. We need we have so much content for very practical business stuff, but I think this one gets into more like the real weeds of it. Trying to grow a business and trying to grow a family and some tips, some strategies all around that.
Yeah, the man behind the biz. That's always the good stuff. So if you enjoyed this, if you found some value, what we'd ask is share it with somebody, right? Like I know that this is maybe a good segue topic maybe for some people that start to get to know us or find out maybe a little bit more about Dave and myself too. And if you guys enjoy this, like let us know. Like we don't mind doing this, but again, we're home service business coach, which means we got to provide in the up-to-date business content. So if you guys enjoyed it, let us know. As always, book a call, schedule with me or home service business coach. Really not for those entrepreneurs that are stuck, but rather the entrepreneurs that have a couple things in place, missing a couple pieces, want the expedited process, maybe cut down 2, 3, 4 years so that maybe in this case, they can be there for their wife and their kids that they have yet to have. Maybe 100%. That's you. Schedule a call. You'll talk with me directly on the phone, see if we can even like each other and if we can even help. But Dave, any final thoughts or?
It was a fun episode, man. I think
it was great.
Those listening in on YouTube, our channel's growing. Put a comment below on your biggest takeaway because the more feedback we hear from you guys helps us craft the show every week for you guys. So, drop a biggest takeaway and give us some feedback.
Yeah, absolutely. Put a topic in there too. Maybe we'll shoot it. We probably will. But other than that, Dave, that was great.
Thanks, brother.
Take care, everybody.